Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Coach Amy 2.0 here, just coming back to visit with you guys and bring forward a message today around relationships. I'm sure by now, after I've lost count of the days of quarantining, that for those of you who are in full-time relationships, marriages, partnerships, that you're living, in a shared space, it can become a little challenging when you're not used to spending so much time with the person that you love. But before I jump into it, I definitely just want to say a great big word of gratitude and thanks for all those on the front line who are serving the community and the world during this COVID-19 pandemic. It is truly it's just a gruesome thing that none of us have ever seen. And I would be remiss not to just humble myself to say thank you. And I hope that you'll take time somewhere in your day just to give pause for just a moment and really think about all the things that we have to be grateful for, especially those who are so brave and so committed to being out there and serving the world the way they do. Not everyone is called to those type of services. And for those of you who've always known that's what you wanted to do, I honor you and I thank you. And I just give you big ups for all the hard work that you're doing. I hope you're safe. I hope you're well. And I just pray many blessings upon you, your lives, and your family's lives at this time. So jumping in, I just do these things in one take. I'm not here really to impress the world, so to speak. What you see is what you get. Here I am, just offering some wisdom, some free coaching tips, in this time that we're all scrunched in together. And so let's jump into it. Today we're going to talk about relationships. I make notes just because if you know me, my head gets out ahead of my mouth sometimes. So I like to note down the things that are the most important, key things that I want to hit. So the most important people in our lives are the ones closest to us, right? So what are some examples of that? Our spouse, maybe our mother-in-law is living at home, or our mother, our parents, children, the people in your neighborhood, the people who are closest, that are the nearest and dear to you, represent our relationships. And often we all get up every day and we get to go about, the different avenues in life that help us accomplish our goals. And then we come back together at the end of the day, and we typically only have a few hours span of time that we spend with one another. And, for those of us who are not together a lot, it can be a challenge right now in these times, because all of a sudden the person that you know and love so well, it's in your face 24/7, and it's a different time. It can be a time that if you never had that phase or stage during your courting process or whatever, it can be almost a little weird. Like you can learn things about each other that you didn't even know potentially. So And it does give us a chance. Let's think about the positive. It gives us a chance to unwind. And all of this, having to sit down on our butts, is a result of we have to, especially if you live in New York City, for example. I'm closer, to that, geographical area out here on the map. But it's like a ghost town, and people are shut in, and typically shared living spaces there are smaller than, if you have a big 3,000 or 5,000 square foot home. And so all that to say is that the positive side of all this extra time together can be, getting to know each other again, or, talking about things or dreams or the future that you really never have a chance to sit down and pause. Taking naps together or watching Netflix. And staying in those meaningful conversations. But it also gives us a chance to see other sides of each other that maybe we keep out of the way of our regular, because we have that drive in the car or whatever the case may be. But the bottom line is, we are all energy. You know, we have a body, mind, and spirit, and the energies that can get, you know, tight in a time like this are what I really want to focus on right now. And what do you do? What are some practical things that you can do when things straight up get tense and tight and you basically feel like you want to strangle someone? No, I'm just kidding. I don't mean anything serious by that. I'm harmless. But you know, I've heard different personalities on Instagram and television talking about this, and this is a real conversation. So what are some practical tips that you can utilize when things are getting tight and things are getting tense and you're just about to say something that you might regret, or you can't get out of your own way with the frustration that you feel? Well, for one thing, what you can learn to do is, and before I go into this, understand something. We're on the same team. So my children and I actually have the blessing that, you know, they go to their dads half the time. So nothing over here has gotten too overwhelming because we have, you know, 3 days there, 2 days here, 3 days there, 2 days off, you know, so it's that. But when you don't have that, first and foremost, understand and remember that you're on the same team. So your family is your team. That's your closest inner circle. And you guys, you know, you're on the same side. So that's one thing. Next, to understand that we all are energy. And when you start getting into that toxic range of where you can't separate your feelings from your frustration, from the situation and being overcrowded, that's when things can become very problematic. So what can we do practically? Okay, get into it, Amy. Okay, so one, you can call a timeout, right? We can do that with our kids sometimes, or, you know, people get the timeout chair. Well, guess what? We are never too old for the timeout chair. So if things are escalating to a point between you and your partner, or your kids for that matter, you reserve the right to call a timeout, because when you put words out there in the air, or you say something that you don't mean or you don't mean, you really can't take those words back. So it's important to have self-control and understand when things are taking a certain turn, that you can just put it on pause. You can call a timeout. It's a healthy thing. You know, everyone might not like that at the moment, but you reserve the right to do that. We have to next look at things through the eyes of emotional intelligence and separate whatever's going on right now, you know, in a sense of like being more an observer of the behavior, of the action, of what's getting on our nerves about that person. Just try to look at it as an observer instead of being so enmeshed in it, right? Also, this may be something new, but this is so key in life every single day, whether it comes to if you happen to have a partner or be married or even with work, you know, colleagues or whatever, but it's setting healthy boundaries. Now, maybe you only see each other 2 or 3 hours a day because you're both professionals and you go on about your life every day. It is always appropriate and okay to lay a line and set what your boundaries are. You may not have had to do that up to this point, but because now you're living together 24/7 and you're never getting that break, I would venture to say that is perfectly okay, normal, healthy, and super positive to set what your boundaries are, whatever that is for you. And it's okay to tell someone something that they're doing or how they're behaving is not okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Another way that you guys can, you know, work through this 24/7 in each other's face, you know, if that's getting a little tiresome for you, is definitely to give the other person permission to take space. So in other words, you know, if just, you know, my kids are older and, I have a lot of experience in relationships. I just don't happen to be in one right now, so I don't have to deal, but I understand what I'm saying right now. So just, I hope that you guys can take some of that, chew the meat, spit out the bone, use whatever works for you. But the point is, you know, it's okay if you're in that full-time relationship situation and there's little kids running around and all that, to give each other permission to take an hour to yourself. Now, whatever that means. If you want to take a bath, if you want to read, if you just want to shut yourself in your bedroom and just, take a nap, whatever you want to do, whatever you need to do, it's important to be proactive. It's important to set that up for yourself so that you can, it's almost like as human beings, we do very, very well with routine. We do very well with routine. We do very well with schedule. It's a proven fact. And so it's okay by about now to set some standards in place as to, how you're going to go about each day so that you can stay on top of it. Okay? If you have something to say to someone that you've discovered that you're like, wow, I never really noticed that about you, you can say what you have to say with diplomacy and respect. When you're mad and you're tight and you're in the middle of, and words go flying and stuff goes flying, you can't really get that back. So try to stay in self-control of your emotions. Try to be an observer of what's going on all around you. Try to be proactive in terms of setting up a time, that you guys can each have your own time and personal space, taking turns with your children if that's what you have going on. And remembering that you're on the same team. Now, for some of you, maybe this isn't an issue. Maybe you're taking this opportunity and, you're improving the romance in your life that you never really had have a chance to do. It's not all negative, it's just a matter of, for those who may be struggling now in a little cycle of, oh my God, I just can't wait till we can get out of each other's face. It might be a while before we can actually really go back to work the way we know it. And, you really can look at this as an opportunity. I'm not going to try to make so much light out of it to say, oh, create an adventure out of this, or, but you can, and you can create a sacred space for yourselves individually. You can create a sacred space for yourselves together by, collaborating and taking action and just, and responsibility for how you're going to go about this. I mean, we're in a time of change, but you can be graceful about it. It doesn't have to be hectic and dramatic and toxic and septic and crazy. I mean, wherever you go, there you are. You have to remember that too. So in any given situation, there's always, 1 + 1 = 2. And, there are two sides to every coin. And, so we are a part of the math. And so even if our respective other is just being a jerk, or, there's things about that person that annoy you that you didn't notice before, try to see the good. Try to separate yourself from evaluating or lump summing the whole thing into that one thing that's annoying you right now. Knowing that you have the ability and the self-control to, choose the way you look at anything and the way you approach anything. And taking it from there. So, I don't want to overdo it. Like I said, I do these things in one take. I'm not here to be a perfectionist. I'm really here to share with you and to just put some coaching tips out there right now while I have a little extra time to sit down. And, I think the word of the day, I have a few little notes down here. I think out of everything, I would say release the fact that we don't have a lot of control over what's going on right now. We can only do our part. The next thing I would say is collaborate. Look at this as a way that you can collaborate to make it work in a new way. Also, take responsibility by doing an action step that can help improve the energy and the vibe in your home while we're here, stuck up under each other. So try to make the best of it. Try to be grateful for the fact that we're alive, we're living, we're breathing. There are many people that we've lost as a result of this horrifying disease. And so, tell each other something good. If you have something constructive to say, start it out with a positive thing that you like. And just know that I love you. I'm here for you if you guys need anything. And I'll holler at you soon. Ciao.